I'm a clinical psychologist, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've heard confessions that would make your skin crawl, stories that kept me awake at night. But there's one case that still haunts me in a different way. It was about Sarah, a 27-year-old woman who walked into my office on a Tuesday afternoon and said, with tears already forming in her eyes, "Dr. Moore, I think there's something fundamentally wrong with me. I can't be happy for the people I love, and it's destroying me. My name is Dr. Evelyn Moore. I run a private practice here in Portland, and I've dedicated most of my adult life to understanding the human mind, the hidden corners where we store the things we're too ashamed to say out loud." Sarah's case reminded me that sometimes the battles we fight aren't against what happened to us, but against what we became without realizing it. When Sarah first walked through that door, she didn't look like someone in crisis. She was put together, wearing a neat blazer over a simple blouse. She worked in marketing for a local tech startup, had her own apartment in Southeast Portland, wasn't financially struggling or running from anything dramatic. On paper, Sarah was doing fine. But the moment she sat down on that cream-colored armchair across from me, the way her hands gripped the strap of her purse, the way her eyes darted around the room before settling on the floor, I knew she was carrying something heavy. The late afternoon light filtered through the blinds in soft amber lines. My office is designed to feel safe, almost womb-like. Soft gray walls, a diffuser releasing lavender into the air. Sarah took a shaky breath and started talking. "I don't even know how to explain this without sounding like a terrible person," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I feel like I'm rotting inside." I leaned forward slightly. "You're in the right place, Aunt Sarah. Just start wherever feels natural. I feel sick when good things happen to people around me," she said. "When my best friend got engaged last year, I felt this wave of anger. Not sadness, just pure resentment. When she posted pictures from her wedding, from her honeymoon in Greece, every single image felt like a knife. I couldn't even look at them without feeling like I was suffocating. And the worst part? I have no reason to feel that way. I'm not even looking to get married right now. I don't want her life, but I still can't stand seeing her happy." Sarah's eyes were glossy now, her voice breaking. She told me about a co-worker named Brandon who got promoted, someone she barely talked to, and yet when the announcement went out, she felt rage so intense she had to leave her desk and cry in the bathroom. A cousin who bought a house, and when she saw the photos on Facebook, she just closed the app and felt hollow. "I'm not broke," she continued, trembling. "I'm not lonely. I have things I enjoy. I paint sometimes. I go to yoga. I have friends. But every time someone around me wins, I feel like I lose. And I hate myself for it." She looked up at me, eyes red and searching. What kind of person does that make me? I let the silence sit for a moment. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is let the weight of what someone just said exist in the room. After a few seconds, I said, "It makes you human, Sarah, and it makes you brave for coming here." She laughed bitterly. "I don't feel brave. I feel broken." I leaned back slightly. "Tell me about your family. Growing up, what was it like?" Sarah shifted in her seat. She grew up in Eugene, the middle child of 3 sisters. Her mom, Linda, was a high school English teacher, demanding and sharp. Her dad, Robert, was quiet, an accountant who disappeared into his home office most evenings. The house was clean, organized, functional, but love was never freely given. It was earned, and it was competitive. And my mom had this way of making everything a comparison, Sarah said, her voice tightening. She'd say things like, "Sarah got a B in chemistry. Well, Amanda got straight A's." Or, "Why can't you keep your room as neat as Emily's?" There was always a winner and always a loser, and the loser was whoever Mom was looking at in that moment. "And how did that make you feel?" I asked. Sarah paused, staring at a spot on the wall, like I was never enough, but also like if I could just be better than my sisters, then maybe I'd be safe. So I competed with everything, even when they didn't know we were competing. And there it was, the blueprint Sarah had learned from the earliest age, that happiness was a limited resource, that love was transactional, that someone else's joy meant there was less room for hers. I said, "So when Jessica got married, when Brandon got promoted, your brain didn't see their happiness. It saw evidence that you were losing." Sarah's face crumpled. "Yes, exactly. And I know that's insane, but I can't stop it." I looked at her carefully. "Sarah, This isn't about being a bad person. This is about survival patterns you learned when you were too young to question them. Your brain is doing what it was trained to do, protect you by keeping score, but we can retrain it. She looked at me with something like hope, fragile and trembling. And do you really think I can change? I nodded. I do, but it's going to take work, and it's going to mean looking at some painful things. She took a shaky breath. I'm ready. I have to be, because I'm losing people I care about, and I can't keep living like this. Sarah came back the following week, and before I could even ask how her week had been, she said, I did something I'm ashamed of, and I need to tell you about it. She told me about Jessica. Jessica Chen had been her best friend since sophomore year of high school. They'd done everything together. Late-night study sessions, road trips to the coast, crying over breakups. Jessica was the kind of friend who remembered your favorite candy, who showed up when you were sick with soup and bad movies. They were inseparable, but something shifted last year. Jessica got engaged in March, Sarah said, her voice tight. She called me right after, crying happy tears, and I remember forcing myself to sound excited. I said all the right things, but inside I felt anger, like she'd done something to me. Did you understand why you felt that way in the moment? I asked. She shook her head. Not really. I just knew I couldn't be around her, so I started pulling away. I'd take longer to respond to texts. I'd say I was busy. When she asked me to be a bridesmaid, I said yes because I had to, but I dreaded every single fitting, every bridal shower. Sarah's hands were trembling now. The wedding was in September. It was beautiful. She looked so happy, and I stood there in that lavender dress, smiling in pictures, giving a toast everyone said was lovely, and the whole time I wanted to disappear. And after the wedding, I asked. I ghosted her, Sarah said, and her voice cracked. I just stopped responding. She'd text me photos from the honeymoon, little updates, invitations to grab coffee, and I'd read them and not reply. Eventually, she stopped trying, and I felt relieved, but also empty. I leaned forward. Sarah, do you know why you pushed her away? She looked at me with desperate eyes. Because I couldn't stand being around her happiness. It made me feel like I was disappearing, like she was moving forward and I was stuck, even though I wasn't even stuck. But seeing her have it made me feel like I'd lost something. This broke my heart. Sarah wasn't envious because she wanted what Jessica had. She was envious because someone else's light made her feel invisible. It was about the fundamental belief that there was only room for one person to shine at a time. I said, when you were growing up, when your mom praised Amanda or Emily, what happened to you in that moment? Sarah blinked. I felt like I didn't exist, like I'd been erased. Exactly. So your brain learned that someone else's happiness equals your erasure, and it's been running that program ever since. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. But it's not protecting me. It's destroying me. I lost my best friend because I couldn't rewire my own brain, I said gently. You didn't lose her yet. Not completely. Sarah nodded, wiping her face. I know this isn't just about Jessica. It's my coworkers, my cousins, even strangers on Instagram. I can't scroll for 5 minutes without feeling like everyone's winning except me. She'd spend an hour or more every night scrolling through feeds, looking at engagement announcements, promotions, vacation photos, and with each post, she'd feel a little more hollow. I hate myself every time I do it, she said. I close the app and promise I won't look again. And then an hour later, I'm back. I asked, what are you looking for when you scroll? She paused. I think I'm looking for proof that I'm not as far behind as I feel. Or maybe someone who's worse off than me so I can feel okay for a second. It's not sick, Sarah. It's a coping mechanism. I want you to try something this week. Notice, without judgment, every time you feel that flare of envy, don't try to stop it. Just notice it. Write it down if you can. She looked skeptical. That's it? I smiled. For now, yes, because you can't change a pattern you're not aware of. As she left that day, I thought about how much courage it takes to confess the ugliest parts of yourself to a stranger. Sarah wasn't a villain. She was someone who'd been taught the wrong lesson about love, and now she was trying to unlearn it. By the 4th session, Sarah came in with a notebook filled with small, careful handwriting. She'd been tracking her envy triggers. I skimmed through it. Jessica posted about a weekend trip. Felt tight in my chest. Coworker mentioned buying a new car. Flash of anger. Saw my sister's story at a nice restaurant. felt sad and resentful. "Do you see any patterns?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "It's worse when I'm alone, worse at night, and worse when I haven't done anything I'm proud of that day." "Say more about that last part." "Like, if I had a good day at work, or I finished a painting, I can see someone's happy post and feel okay. But if I spent the day scrolling and watching Netflix, seeing someone else succeed feels unbearable." I nodded. "That makes sense. Because in those moments, you're already feeling disconnected from yourself. So someone else's happiness becomes proof of your failure, even though logically you know that's not true." Over the next several sessions, we dug deeper. I asked Sarah to imagine a world where Jessica's happiness had absolutely nothing to do with her, where someone getting promoted didn't take anything away from her. At first, she couldn't picture it. But that's not how the world works," she said. "Limited resources, yes," I said, "but unlimited worth. Your value doesn't decrease because someone else's increases." Then came the session that changed everything. Sarah walked in looking pale, hands shaking. "I did something," she said. "I wrote Jessica a letter. I wrote the truth. How I felt when she got engaged, why I pulled away, how ashamed I am. And I sent it." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "What if she hates me? What if I just destroyed the only real friendship I've ever had?" I handed her the tissue box. "What if she understands?" 2 days later, Sarah came back. Jessica had responded. "She wrote back," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "And she didn't hate me. She said she knew something was wrong, that she felt me pulling away and it hurt. But she also said she's been struggling too. Her marriage isn't perfect. She's been dealing with infertility and didn't want to post about it. She said the honeymoon photos were real, but so was the fight they had the night before. She said she felt like she had to perform happiness." Sarah broke down then, full-body sobs. "I've spent a year resenting her for a life that didn't even exist. I made her into a villain in my head, and she was suffering the whole time." I let her cry, and then I said quietly, "This is what happens when we only see the highlight reel." Sarah nodded. "She wants to meet for coffee. She said she misses me." The coffee meeting happened. They talked for 3 hours. Both cried, both apologized, and for the first time in over a year, Sarah felt the tightness in her chest release. But the work wasn't done. I gave Sarah exercises. When she saw a post that triggered envy, she had to pause and say out loud, "Their happiness doesn't erase mine." It felt ridiculous at first, but slowly, something shifted. She started celebrating small things intentionally. A coworker got engaged, and Sarah bought her a card. Another friend announced a new job, and Sarah commented with congratulations and actually meant it, at least a little. "I'm not fixed," Sarah told me in one of our final sessions. "I still feel the envy sometimes, but now I can see it coming. I can name it, and I can choose not to let it drive." I smiled. "That's not broken, Sarah. That's growth." The last time I saw Sarah, she looked lighter. She'd started painting again, joined a local art group, was learning to measure her life by her own standards instead of everyone else's Instagram grid. "I'm not racing anyone anymore," she said. "I'm just trying to build a life that feels like mine. And honestly, that's all any of us can do." If this story touched something in you, if you've ever felt that sharp sting of envy when someone you love succeeds, take a breath. You're not broken, you're human, and you're not alone. If you want, share in the comments which part resonated most. And if stories like this help you feel less alone, consider subscribing. But remember, listening to stories can help you feel seen, but it doesn't replace real support. If you're struggling with feelings like Sarah's, please reach out to a licensed therapist. You deserve that care. Thank you, and see you next time.